welcome back to the channel. This week we are going to be making a bridal bouquet. So here on the flower farm, I offer wedding florals on a pretty small scale, I would say. I have two different types of offerings. The first is bulk and DIY bloom buckets. So you place your order, you let me know your desired color palette, you let me know your exact stem count needs, and then I pick the flowers fresh from the flower field the week of your event in your desired color palette. You pick up the buckets and then you get to arrange your own blooms. I've seen so many brides do such cool stuff designing their own wedding florals in this way. And I think having locally grown flowers when you're doing it on your own is just an extra special touch. And then the other offering is a la carte wedding florals. So I have a preset menu where you can pick out what you need for your big day, whether it's bridal bouquets, bridesmaids bouquets, corsages, boutonnieres, a scattering of bud vases, centerpieces, and you just plug and play what you need for your day. You place that order, and then same thing, the week of your wedding, I go out to the flower field, I harvest everything I can in your desired color palette, and I get to arranging those items for you. Today we are working on an order for a bridal bouquet. They're picking up tomorrow, so tomorrow morning I'll walk you through some corsages and boutonnieres as well. Start by talking about what I have in front of me. I have garden shears. I also have things like ribbon, wire, floral tape, rubber bands, a vase filled with water to put the finished bouquet in, and I also have chicken wire. I don't think I'm going to be using the chicken wire today, and you'll see why in just a minute with the ingredients I have. Sometimes I create a little cage ball and I use that to hold the structure of the bouquet, but we're going for a very light and airy look today, and I don't know if I want that restriction. So we'll see if we need it in the end. I'm not totally certain just yet. So these are the blooms that we're working with today. Cosmos are going to be the main focus. This bride wanted a mainly white bouquet with some pops of yellow and some pastel-y pinks. Cosmos you want to harvest when they're in this cracked bud stage like you see here. I know it's not totally focused, but you can see there's coloring of the bud and it's just starting to crack open. And then within a couple days, they start to open up like this. So I've let these guys open and mature so they look their best on her big day. And then over here we have some pastel colored zinnias, some sweet peas on the vine. How magical are those? And these absolutely beautiful muted pink snapdragons. I only grew a small amount of these this year, but they might be my new favorite. I also harvested some scoop scabiosa. This is Fata Morgana, a really beautiful champagne color. It's not totally ripe yet, but I love the texture that these little raspberry looking edges will add to this bouquet. I just realized now that I'm over here, there's one other thing I didn't show you guys, and that's some feverfew. I think I put a little video in at the beginning of the feverfew row. It is just exploding this week. When feverfew comes, it comes. So it's here and it has a little bit of yellow in there. I think it'll balance those cosmos really beautifully in this little bouquet. So I'm gonna lay everything out in front of me so I can kind of see what I'm working with. It's all had time to cool down and hydrate after I picked it from the flower field. So it should be okay just laying out on the counter. I mean, look at these sweet pea vines. I picked some blushy hues in here, so this will add a little bit of that muted pastel that she was talking about, in addition to the snapdragons. And then these zinnias as well have some really muted pastel tones in them that are very beautiful. Here you can really see the difference. These ones were just harvested, so they're still just cracked and opening, versus the ones I showed you earlier that are a lot more open already. I'll do a little mix. We still have a day before she's going to be walking down the aisle, so these will continue to open in the arrangement, and if they don't, they'll add some good texture and variation. Here's those nice, pretty open ones. These are my all-time favorite flower. I've probably told you guys this before, but if you've ever visited my website, I have a Cosmo in a wine bottle as my logo. I drew it a few years back and I still love them as much today as I did then. So love me a Cosmo. They're a little finicky. They make you work a little bit, but I love them. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to use the Feverfew as my base, and I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. I tend to process things a lot in the field, so I'll remove extra foliage. I'll move cruddy bits out in the field as well. But sometimes I see extra details that I missed out in the field once I have them in my hands indoors and I'm not all hot from harvesting all morning. So we're gonna start with just a couple of these, and I kind of like to have a mirror or something in front of me so I can kind of picture what it's gonna look like in the bride's hands. She's my height as well. With my a la carte florals, I just advertise that it's a very modern garden style arrangement with the best of what's in the flower field. So I don't guarantee any specific florals, but more the color palette, and they kind of know what they're in for if they're getting flowers from me. I think this is gonna be pretty. I am not saying I'm making this arrangement the correct way, but it's how I make it. It's very much my style. I'm adding things in X's, just trying to keep them loose, trying to keep things facing forward so that when she's walking down the aisle, that's what people are seeing. I also like a little asymmetry. I don't like anything to be too spherical or symmetrical. That really bothers me for some reason. I don't know if any of you watch Paige Wassell's YouTube, but she also has an issue with like pill-shaped things and arches, and it doesn't bother me as much in interiors, but boy, in florals, when something is like this symmetrical globe, it gives me the ick, as they say. Sweet pea vines are so beautiful. Again, I'm kind of cleaning up as I'm going here. But if you look at this guy up close, just some cottonwood got in it. They have these like crawly little arms that they use to climb up the trellis. And I don't know if you can see them, but they are so whimsical and so beautiful. We're gonna use a small amount of chicken wire now that I'm playing and kind of have an idea of what I'm doing. I'm just gonna cut a little bit of chicken wire to make a little bit of a base for the center of this guy. You really don't need much. I'm just going to be cutting a little square of chicken wire here, and I'm going to be folding it into kind of a small half ball, if you will. It gives something for the flowers to lean against once I place them in the bouquet. They'll hold their shape really nicely for the bride. And I think how I'm placing them, they'll still have a lot of bounce and whimsy. All right, so nothing crazy, just a little metal ball. Then I'm going to build back in with the Feverfew. We're going to make the majority of it with the cosmos, and then we'll fill in with the sweet peas and add the zinnias, kind of like the earrings to the outfit, if you will. I really want it to be Cosmo forward, this bouquet. I'm just cleaning off. Cosmos usually are going to have a couple other buds on them. And while I love that, I just don't want it to get too busy with all of those. Just really focusing on building out my desired shape with the cosmos right now. I know I keep hopping out of screen to grab these guys. Hopefully you guys don't mind. The floor in here becomes such a mess as I'm working. I'm throwing scraps and bits and bobs. My favorite thing about cosmos is the stems themselves smell of Granny Smith apples. It is one of the most beautiful fragrances to me. Usually around this time of the year. I don't know what it is. I always yearn for summer, and then summer gets here and I'm like, okay, when is apple picking season? And the smell of these kind of satiates me until fall gets here and I can actually smell freshly picked apples. I know it's not facing you guys, but we're getting some shape here. I keep it facing me for the most part, just so I can really see how the shape is forming and developing. And then I'll peek in the mirror every now and again. This one's a little too droopy. And I'm really making sure foliage, those little few florets and things are hiding that cage that we made just a little bit ago. I'm gonna pop a couple snaps in now. A lot of traditional florists will tell you that you need to add things in like groups of 3 or groups of 5. I don't subscribe to that. I think rules like that kind of prevent you from making cool stuff. So do what you want. Oh, she's looking cute. Okay. What is this one doing? This one's like really in there. All right, let's see about some peas. All right, now for some of the zinnias. I have pinky bits. Let me show you more of the pinkies. Little pink ones. Some that have like a little limey, citron yellow hue to them. I think those will add in a little variance in the yellows here. That one right there. Sorry, out of shot again here. I am just sprinkling in the zinnias. This bee review is bothering me. Our entire road is under construction, and a massive dump truck is getting unloaded essentially in my driveway as we speak, outside the window here. Gotta love it. We'll have a beautiful road when it's done, but in the meantime, it's noisy. A couple people commented on my last video that they loved it, but they did not like my music choice. And I didn't like my music choice either. My music is not by choice these days. It is very much a necessity to cover up like the beeping, honking noises of all of these burly construction men. So someday we'll get back to just the sound of chirping birds, but for now we get bad, royalty-free music. I thought it sounded like The Parent Trap. They didn't seem to think so. All right, we are getting really close. Got good shape. It's really airy. Needs just a little bit more. I'm actually angry at myself for not just keeping these cosmos in the bucket. They get so tangled on the countertop like that. I am going to be using some pieces of just the Cosmo foliage to make sure that cage is well hidden. I think some sweet pea foliage will do that job nicely too. Need one more Cosmo over there. I'm gonna do one that's a little bit more closed, so that hopefully it opens really beautifully. All right, I think we're mostly done. I don't want to lose my grip, so I have my florist tape here. I am going to secure all of this in place. You know what I'm just now seeing? I picked these last minute. I do think they're worth adding. This is the scoop scabiosa that's not quite like ripe yet. They just look like little berries, little raspberries, a bit yellowy. For whatever reason, this one sweet pea is being a little silly. I'm gonna go check this in the mirror and I'll be right back. So I like how this guy's turned out, really light and airy, bouncy and beautiful. We are going to let this thing hydrate because it's been out of water for some time now. I'm gonna clean up my mess here and then we will come back tomorrow before pickup, make sure everything's still looking good, make sure I don't need to add anything, pull things out. I like to fidget with the bridal bouquet until the minute it goes out the door, and then we'll get it wrapped up with ribbon. She wants that very classic, like trailing ribbon look, so we'll tie some really beautiful white, chiffony, silky ribbon around it, but I think it's off to a good start. So I woke up pretty early this morning, checked on the bouquet, and I added a couple bits and bobs off camera. And we have nearly the finished product here. So it's incredibly airy and bouncy, and it has a lot of really nice movement. Now we're just going to add some ribbon. So I have that as an add-on that you can add to any bouquet on my a la carte menu. So we're gonna add some really beautiful, just clean, crisp white ribbon. And then this guy will be ready for the bride and ready to go out the door. So I'm just gonna wrap the bouquet in ribbon first, wrap the stems or the handle, if you will, and then we'll create the piece that will actually drape down. It's always nice when the bride is about my height, so that really helps me with planning how long the drapey bits should be. You just never want the drapey bits to look too short or too long on a more petite bride. So I'm just wrapping at the base, making sure any bits of that cage that we made that are still exposed get fully covered by the ribbon. You shouldn't be able to see any of the mechanics when we're done with this guy. And I'm just making sure everything is laying appropriately as we're tightening this guy up here. I left a little tail on the back side, and I'll be using that to tie this off after I get it all wrapped nicely. This is always the most precarious task. Because we're tying this off, I'm not gonna pin it in place. I'm just going to double knot it here on the back side because it'll actually be covered by the piece of ribbon that creates that really drapey bit. So no need for extra pins that could poke and prod at our bride all day. So we are wrapped. How bouncy. And now for the bit that's going to drape. I like to make sure the ribbon is cut at a very neat angle on the side. So right now it's not really a cute angle. We're gonna make it a pretty extreme angle. And I say with ribbon, you can always cut it shorter. So I'm gonna start pretty long. We'll wrap it around a couple times and then we'll knot it. You can kind of see the length. So we'll wrap this around to hide our other knot. Then we'll tie it off in the front so it flows away from our bride. a little challenging to see. It's definitely too long. I'm gonna step in front of a mirror quick to see what length I want, and then I'll show you guys the finished product. So I didn't have time to walk you guys through the making of the corsages, but here is a finished wrist corsage. The sweet pea vine will climb up the arm, and it's just secured in place with some beautiful ribbon. Here's a boutonniere. They're just super delicate, super sweet. A lisianthus with some sweet pea foliage. And then I use a safety pin to make it a little bit easier on everyone to keep it on throughout the day.